Just because you've learned to smile does not mean that you've healed. Just because the memories don't sting anymore as much as they used to does not mean that they are gone. Sometimes healing is not about forgetting what broke you. It's actually about learning to live without letting it control you. So, if the pain that you thought you buried is still writing your story, you need to listen to this. Welcome to the Growth Table Pod, where we share raw talks, real stories, and that inner strength that you need to rise again. If you've ever carried silent battles, questioned your self worth, or wondered when true healing actually happens, you are in the right place. So I want you to take your seat at the growth table because your healing will actually start here. We are going to be taking a continuation of last week's topic where we started about childhood trauma. And last week we actually revealed what childhood trauma feels like. If you haven't listened to it, check the series on the podcast and actually listen to it. Today we are diving into something sacred and necessary, which is healing the hidden wound. This episode is a guide. It's more like a gentle walk through the signs that are still carrying unhealed trauma and the practical and emotional steps to begin the journey to recovery. The reason is because healing is not linear, but it's worth every single step of it. So if this podcast is already speaking to you as we talk, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who is actually healing too. Let's grow together, one story at a time. Over to the main topic of today. We're going to be taking some signs that shows that you're still carrying trauma that you haven't addressed. One of that sign is that you may not have visible scars, but trauma leaves internal bruises. Some signs are you overreact to small triggers. When someone raises their voice, you find yourself shutting down or going numb all of a sudden. Another is, do you push people away when they get close? Do you constantly feel unsafe even in safe places? Because we're trying to help every one of us understand if you are still carrying wounds that are leaking into our adulthood. Do you know how to rest? Does stillness, each time you find that opportunity to stay still to rest, do you start feeling guilty or lazy about it? Do you find it difficult to trust people? Anyone, even yourself? Do you find yourself constantly reliving the past? Not just the memories but the emotions too? Understand that trauma does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers through your patterns. You can find them in your daily activities. You can find their footprint or the footprint of trauma in daily activities that you carry out. How you react to things, how you speak to people. The myth of just move on. We've had this too often. It's in the past. The truth of the matter is, trauma is not time based. It's actually impact based. You don't move on from trauma like you move on from a past failed test. You heal from it. You walk through trauma. You unlearn what it taught you about yourself. Saying just move on is like telling someone to walk with a broken leg without a cast. The truth is, healing is a process, and it is okay if it takes time. What are the steps to healing? First of them is therapy. I know as Nigerians or as Africans, we don't take therapy seriously. In fact, especially as Nigerians, we believe therapy is for rich people. It's for rich people. It's those abroad, outside Nigeria, that need therapy. Hence, we've glued ourselves to comedy skits on social media to relieve ourselves of that stress, of that emotional burden that therapy is supposed to do the work for. Therapy is not actually for crazy people. It's for wounded people who want to heal intentionally. It gives you language for your pain. It helps you trace patterns, grieve safely, and gain tools for emotional recovery. So whether it's talk therapy, trauma-informed care, or even group therapy, it is sacred place or space for self-discovery. If understand that you don't have to heal alone, and you were never meant to actually do that. Safe spaces. A safe space is not just physical, it's emotional. It might be that your friend who listens without fixing things. It might be your journal that you cry to without judgment. It might be the boundaries that you build around your peace. Find or create your space, somewhere you can be raw without fear. Healing grows best where there is safety. Another is forgiveness. When you forgive, it doesn't necessarily mean forgetting. It is not you excusing the harm. It is you letting yourself free of that shackles or the prison of pain. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is yourself. You've made mistakes in the past that caused you issues. Forgive yourself. Healing begins when you stop punishing yourself over what was never your fault, even if it was your fault. Forgiveness is the permission slip you need to move forward. Let's talk a little about boundaries. Boundaries are not necessarily walls, they are more like filters. They protect your energy, your peace, like your progress. Saying no does not or is not being mean, probably when you say no to people. It's actually being kind to your healing. It's important that you create limits around toxic people, draining environment, or even your phone screen. If you notice that the content on your content feed is constantly draining you, why don't you filter them? I was having this conversation with a neighbor of mine last night where we talked about why most young people fail to live intentionally or realistically. Everyone is all about on social media seeking comedy skits, whereas they are deeply wounded or have been deeply wounded emotionally. And even when they find someone trying to break free from their wound or trying to heal, then you hear words abusive speech. You see kinds of speech that you can only find from internet bullies. So while we discussed, he explained how he was starting to unfollow most of the people who drained him, probably with their content, probably with their comments, and how important that move has actually been for him. So, setting of boundaries can actually be like that too. The moment that you become aware, that moment you start regaining power over your healing or your level of healing. Self awareness. You can't heal what you don't name, what you are not aware of. Self awareness is you noticing your triggers, understanding your reactions, and asking, why did I feel that way? It's not easy, but it's really powerful. With every level of self awareness comes a new level of healing. The moment you become aware, that is the moment you start understanding and noting things that you can do or how strong you really are. Create a new narrative for yourself. You are not the story that your trauma told you. You are not too much, you are not unlovable, you are not your pain. Creating a new narrative is about rewriting those core beliefs of yours. Telling yourself daily that you are worthy, you are enough, you're healing. Those simple affirmations go a long way in helping you heal from trauma. You are not your trauma. You are actually the author of the next chapter that you work on or that you tread on. To begin healing, practical journaling and self-care tips are necessary. Okay, so let's take more like an exercise. We call this practical journaling and self-care tips for to begin healing, right? So in your journal, pick it up, get yourself a pen, get a seat if you've been standing all this while, because you would need to answer some questions. If you have your notepad on your phone, I prefer you get a journal, a physical journal where you can write things down. But if you prefer to also use your notepad, no problem. First question: what memory still affects you today and why? Think deeply about it. What memory still affects you today and why? Second, what part of yourself, let me personalize it. What part of myself am I learning to forgive? Third, who do I need to set boundaries with? Think you would always have those people around you. People who drain your peace, content creators whose content doesn't resonate with you anymore, people whose actions always make you compare yourself regularly, people who naturally compare you with others, People who, when they step into a room where you are, you feel so uncomfortable, not because they are bad, but because they constantly make you feel guilty or constantly drain you with constant words of comparison with others. Who do you need to set boundaries with? And the last question, but not the least, what do I need to feel safe today? Your heart knows the answer. Think deep. Think deep till you get the answer. And until you get it, I want you to pause this. Once you've gotten it, you can continue listening. What are some self-care practices? First is to take silent walks and speak kindly to yourself. Turn your phone off for an hour a day and simply stay in that silence. Do one thing each day that feels nurturing. A bath, music, or silence. Just do one thing that feels nurturing every day. Practice mirror affirmations. More like, I am healing. And that's enough for today. Let's take a recap. Today, we've talked through what it means to carry trauma and how to begin letting go of it. We've learned that trauma does not just fade with time, it fades with the truth, with intentionality, and with grace. Healing does not happen overnight. It is layered slowly, sacred. But you're allowed to take your time. You are allowed to cry. You are allowed to heal slowly. To conclude this episode, if it spoke to you or if it opened something in you, don't let it close back up. Hit on that subscribe button. Follow us if you're joining on Instagram, and share with someone who is actually walking this path too. And remember that you are not behind, you're not broken. Like we said last week, you are becoming whole again. Until next time, stay growing. This is the Growth Table Podcast, where growth isn't just a destination, it's a daily decision.